Good evening. Today, significant Arab and international discussions are unfolding in Jordan, focusing on the evolving situation in Syria. The talks feature high-level participation from the United States, the European Union, Egypt, and other Arab nations, as well as representatives from the United Nations. These discussions aim to strengthen efforts towards a Syrian-led political process in alignment with the UN Security Council Resolution 2254. The goal is to address the needs of the Syrian people, restore state institutions, safeguard Syria's territorial integrity, and ensure the rights and security of all its citizens. Additionally, there is a pressing call to halt Israeli strikes and incursions in Syria. So stay tuned as we explore today's discussions and their potential impact. Welcome to this in-depth analysis. UN Special Envoy Geir Pedersen has urged foreign powers to prevent the collapse of vital Syrian institutions after the downfall of Bashar al-Assad. Speaking at a conference in Jordan, Pedersen emphasized the need for humanitarian aid and a credible, inclusive political process to form the next government. The talks, attended by diplomats from the US, EU, and Arab countries, came after the departure of al-Assad. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken called for a political process that reflects Syria's diverse communities. While Syrians celebrated Assad's departure, many were also searching for missing loved ones, with over 35,000 disappearances documented. Despite the joy, Syria faces dire challenges including war, sanctions, and inflation. The EU announced an airlift of medical supplies, while Israel prepared to remain in a UN buffer zone amid rising tensions. And for providing further analysis, we are joined by Dr. Ashraf Singer, a world political analyst from California. And we are also joined by Khaled Nassif, an Israeli affairs expert from Ramallah. Welcome to you both, gentlemen. Thank you for being with us on Qnews. And we start with you, Dr. Ashraf. And what are the real main objectives of the meetings taking place in Jordan, particularly with regard to the situation in Syria?
I'm happy to hear that, there is an action by the Arab world and United States and Europe to handle what is going on in Syria now. That meeting, in Aqaba, city of Aqaba, of course, will gather, the ministers from the Arab world and, some figures, and from United States and Europe to discuss what is going on. It's very important because, the primary objective of this meeting, we need really to see what the future of the transitional framework. In other words, we should really see kind of steps how to handle the collapse of Assad regime and the fall down of Assad regime and the consequences of that kind of transition in Syria now. There is, of course, a huge doubt on Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham did represent a new vision that is it's gonna to handle that transition in a very softly and peacefully transitions. But Syria, as you mentioned in your report, is under huge impact of inflation, the shortage of medicine, food, and what I heard that is EU gonna to send that kind of aid to Syria just to save people from dying. So they were dying from that conflict under Assad prolonged for like 15 years or 13 years now. And now we need to see the consequences. I think this is a very crucial meeting, particularly the partners from EU and the US. They are involved and they are involving. I'm sorry, and they are involving, and they have to do something rather than just watching the consequences, what is going on in Syria.
You spoke about a peaceful transition, and you spoke about the opposition, as it calls itself. We'll speak about that later, Mr. Ashraf, and about the challenges. But let me here go to Mr. Khaled, and from your point of view, how can international support be mobilized to aid a Syrian-led political process from your point of view?
Good evening for the colleague and for the watchers. I believe that the international community from the day one they support this movement in Syria. Support they provided. Political support now. I think this movement or this organization they have to have a kind of political support, and this meeting is coming in this time in Jordan to give this movements or these sanctions or this government this parts kind of legal support in order to go through the transitional period until March next year to have a kind of a time to have an internal discussion about the new regime or the new political process have to be coming through of this negotiation. I believe also that the Arab countries they didn't have anything to do with that. There was attending this meeting because of the U.S. and the EU, the EU and the U.S. For the
you mean
Israeli,
that there were
Israeli interest? They support this process, and because of that, they attend to this meeting for according to the call of the EU and US. In order to give an political cover or political umbrella for these parts next period.
Right. Dr. Ashraf, getting back to you, and before we go to discuss what you were speaking about, let me here take your opinion and your assess to the role Egypt plays in these discussions, and how does it influence the regional stability?
Yeah, this is a good point. Egypt never ever leave Syria or Lebanon or Palestine alone. This is part of it. It is responsibility as a major country in the Arab world. Egypt defined its national security as the Arab national security. So basically, this talk is very important. That is Egypt's role here to clarify. That is, what is Israel is doing in Syria is wrong. Israel is really creating more problem than solving the problem there. So this is first. Second, that transitional period should be under the eyes of the international community and the Arab community. So not really leave Syria as the international community left many countries were in that transition, like Iraq, Libya, Yemen, and ended by civil war. So we don't like. So Egypt doesn't like and don't like to. The people of Egypt don't like to see Syria uh, facing that really a big trouble. Syria is not really small country. Millions of people live there. Syria and Lebanon and Gaza now. So it's the whole of the Sham. That east part of the Arab world now is under huge transition in terms of what is going there. So this is first. Second, diplomatically, Egypt.
The word, Mr. Ashraf, because you said transition and peaceful transition, the word transition, is it the proper term to the situation this very particular area is in at this very particular time?
This is a good point, to define transition or transitional period or transitional process. Of course, depends about the type of condition about this transitional period. If we left just that transition, to the hand of the people in Syria, and you don't know if if that groups in Syria decide, to fight each other, we're gonna be in the middle of the civil war. This is crazy. So we cannot, at the international community, and Egypt, one of them, they should really intervene to. I'm not saying, to control that transition from A to Z, but at least make sure that every group in Syria will be presented in that transition government. Every group in Syria will not be ignored. So this is first. Second, we need to make sure that the international community really condemned that kind of what I saying, the capturing, many or additional land of Syria territory like Israel, or potentially probably, but some scholars, or even talking about, probably Turkey too. So so that point is really important. You need to make sure that that transition or transition process in Syria should be smoothly and peacefully, non-violent, to make sure that if you need really to aid people in Syria, you need to make sure that that, that degree of stability is there, not really, just leave Syria uh, based on the chaos or from the point of the chaos transition. So this is I think the most important
Right.
about the meeting in Aqaba, to make sure that the international community work together collectively to save Syria after years of suffering. Uh,
Uh, uh, Mr. Khalid, in which way can the international community address the urgent needs of displaced Syrians and the dire humanitarian situation there?
In which way? I believe there is no way for the international community to address this need. This needs have to be addressed by the people themselves, by the organizations. In this period or in this time, the international community is looking on the political issue, not in the aid issue. And they gave a support, logistic support in the beginning, and now political support. But now they are not focusing on the humanitarian need for the people in Syria. Uh, that's not their interest. The interest for them is to change the political situation, is to change the regime according to their principles, as they said today, and to give a political and diplomatic cover for this period until it's over.
But when I asked about their needs, they are in a very dire economic situation, and there is lack of food, lack of water, lack of many of the infrastructure. How is the international community supposed to address those needs and help them overcome such a dire situation? This is what exactly I meant here.
I know, I understand what you meant, but I'm speaking about the agenda for the international. The agenda for the international about Syria and about the case in Syria, it's not the needs for the people. It's the needs for the change of the political issue. And that's the focus for them now. They will not address any kind of situation because they will give a chance for the parties, the different parties in Syria to deal with that, and to give information that the regime or the past regime for Syria, it was a catastrophe for the people, not helping the people, not feeding the people, or not securing the people. That's the main focus for them for this period and for this meeting.
So
After
you're
that,
speaking here about that the Syrian needs should come from within, right?
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Not by the international. They are not focusing on that, the international community.
Dr. Ashraf, what are the implications of the UN Security Council Resolution 2254 for the Syrian transition process?
You know, unfortunately, the UN, Security Council, issued many number of resolutions, to solve many problems all over the world. But unfortunately, no one really execute that resolution rightly. In other words, the Israel and the United States in terms of their power, to stop any kind of this resolution by veto or not really implement, that resolution on the ground. This is major problem. I would really talk about, when Trump officially recognized Israel annexation of the occupied Golan Heights. This was a major transition in the United States. United States by itself, violate the international law, but that kind of officially recognized Israel annexation of Golan Heights, and it's still occupied Golan Heights. And now Israel moved more to capture additional land from Syria territory, like Sheikh Mountain, or even beyond Sheikh Mountain. It's about like 14 or 18 kilometers. This is really disaster. If the international community is really watching what is going on, issuing a resolution from New York, but on the ground we are seeing something else. This is the dilemma. Actually, this is the dilemma. It's facing the Arab world, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza. We heard and we saw many resolutions, but no one really execute the right one and implement the right one and protect that type of resolution from the international law.
So you're saying
this
here
is
too many resolutions, unfortunately, unapplied.
Unapplied, exactly.
Right.
So this is one of the major problems.
Right. Before we continue, let's take a moment to explore the international and Arab efforts in Jordan on Syria's future and regional stability, and then we'll come back for more discussion.
A series of Arab and international meetings are taking place in Jordan today, focusing on the evolving situation in Syria. Participants include representatives from Egypt, various international and Arab foreign ministers, and the United Nations representative. A primary agenda item is to explore strategies for supporting an inclusive political process led by Syrian authorities, aimed at achieving a transitional phase in line with UN Security Council Resolution 2254. This resolution seeks to address the aspiration of the Syrian people while ensuring the rebuilding of state institutions and the preservation of Syria's territorial integrity and sovereignty. The humanitarian conditions in Syria remain dire, with reports indicating that over 90% of the population is living in deep poverty. The recent upheaval has resulted in significant displacement, with approximately 1.1 million individuals forced to flee their homes due to ongoing violence. Discussions will also focus on international political efforts concerning the Syrian crisis, particularly the roles of major powers and their influence on regional stability. Notably, the meetings coincide with the 43rd anniversary of Israel's decision to annex the occupied Syrian Golan Heights and impose its laws on the region, a move widely rejected by the international community at the time. Collectively, these discussions aim to address urgent humanitarian needs while promoting a path towards sustainable peace in Syria. The ongoing conflict poses significant risks to regional security, with spillover effects impacting the broader Middle East. The meetings will analyze how these developments influence geopolitical dynamics and security measures across the region.
Well, welcome back, and back to you, Mr. Khaled. And how has Israel's control of Mount Hermon changed following the departure of al-Assad, and what does this mean for Syria and for the regional security?
Actually, Israel, as its nature, it's an colonized state, and they are now in this situation, in an unstable situation in Syria. They annex they annex the Golan Heights before, and they try to sanction more land from now. That will affect all the region, because also that's one of the master plan of the Israelis or Israeli government, to annex and to occupy more land from other countries in the region. That will also give an opportunity or an kind of attention for the other Arab countries that may happen to them in any way by the Israelis, even if they have a conflict or a war with Israel directly, or if there is any unstable situation inside any country. Israel is ready there to occupy the land and the regions or governance from any country. That's also lead to Jordan, lead to Iraq, and sometimes lead to Egypt, and another way lead to Saudi Arabia, which the attention for the Israelis is always and timely colonize and occupied the land for the Arab, and to become a huge or the biggest entity in this region, and from there controlling the economy and the other sectors in the region. That's the Israeli master plan. It's done by the war, and it's done by the unstable situation inside any country, which is no any country, no any Arab country is far away from that master plan. That was announced by the ministers of this government. That was announced by the literature that we have it in Israeli research centers.
Yes.
That's why announced everywhere, and anyone can follow that and understand it.
Right. Dr. Ashraf, you spoke about the inability to apply or to comply by the UN resolutions. I wonder why. But from your point of view, how can the Arab work together to support a unified approach to the Syrian crisis?
This is a good point, because this is their time. If they didn't act now, the situation gonna to be deteriorate in Syria significantly and be against the stability and the Arab nation and security as well. I think from the point of Egypt, at the mediation efforts, at the security concern, at the reintegration of Syria into the Arab framework, this is the most important about that role. Think about Egypt and the major Arab worlds, like Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Qatar, Jordan, Iraq. So all of these guys now are playing a major role in terms of, protect Syria from the unpredicted future, in terms of what the Arab states or the Arab League now, they need to continue to advocate for Syria, because, keeping Syria by itself now, I'm not sure if Syria can really move in the right direction. They need their...
So briefly, Dr. Ashraf, because our time is running out.
Sorry.
How can the Arab work together for a better Syria or the future of Syria?
They need the diplomatic efforts collectively, and they need to adopt one plan how to see the future of Syria, and deliver this plan to the US, to EU, So this is like the Arab words or statement or stand, about the
Right.
future of Syria. I think this is the most important point, and think later about how we can really deliver the aid and which and who gonna to receive that aid in Syria.
Right.
We need to make sure Syria is in the right path and right direction
On the
for,
right
for
track.
getting on
On
the
the
right
right
track.
track. That was Dr.
Yes.
Ashraf Singer, a world politics analyst, and Khalid Nassif, an Israeli affairs expert. Many thanks for you both, gentlemen, for your insights. And I guess that brings us to the end of today's episodes of In Depth. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on Qnews.